All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming over and thanks for joining us at GDG Singapore. This is our first online event. You can't hear me? Hello? Doesn't work? You can hear me now. Okay. All right. As you can see, we are sort of like kind of screwing up at the beginning. But anyway, welcome to Android Night. This is our first online event at GDG Singapore. And we are very, very excited to have you all with us. Thanks for coming over from all over all over Southeast Asia and some parts of Europe and Africa. I guess a little bit of introduction as well about us. We are JDG Singapore, also known as a Google Developer Group. We are a group of technology enthusiasts who are very much passionate about all things Google. So here for tonight, we are going to talk about all things Android. We invited some really amazing speakers to join us for tonight. But before that, we wanted to thank everyone, especially those groups all over Southeast Asia who actually broadcasted the event to their community. It was an amazing uptick. We never expect to have this number of people to actually hop on board and join. And so we hope that we can give you a very good show for tonight. And we actually have a lot of people from all over the region. You know, like we have people from Taiwan, Kazakhstan, Russia, Thailand, Vietnam, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Pakistan, and so forth. So thanks for joining us, and hope that you can bring back some good news to your folks out there, and hope you enjoy some future events with us as well. And before we forget, please do subscribe so that you get informed with upcoming YouTube events, which will be during this COVID season. It will be, I guess, quite exciting for us to have all these kinds of events coming to your to the comfort of your home. We are also looking for volunteers. If anyone of you are interested to come and join us to be a designer or a Firebase and Flutter project manager, please do reach out to us. There's an email right there. We are looking for people who are willing to kind of like go out there and manage some projects for Firebase and Flutter, like organize some talks and so forth. And it's okay if it's your first time. We're looking for passionate people. So please do send us your interest through the link. Some upcoming events for us. We are looking to actually have Chrome Dev Summit extended. Some of you may know that we are planning to actually have it back in February, but because of the COVID incident, which has been haunting us, you know, like even to this day, we are not able to proceed. However, we are looking to restart this on May 2. So please put this in your calendar, and we'll also announce it in our Facebook group. Also, we are going to do a machine learning developer day 1 week afterwards. Please do hang in tight as well. We are going to advertise this in our Facebook page, but just for everyone's knowledge that this is in plan as well. We are also working with Google Marketing Platform to talk about their products and see how we developers can actually enjoy the benefits of their product and try to understand, how we can actually work with them better and appreciate more how the marketing team are actually improving our business. We are looking for speakers. So if anyone, if you are interested, you don't have to be in Singapore. We have speakers from, all over the region. Please do join us. Please use the sign up link below, share it with your friends. We are always looking for speakers. And once we have enough number of speakers who are interested, then we'll organize another event. Here are some ways to keep in touch. We are very active in Facebook and Meetup. We use it to advertise our upcoming events. And of course, our YouTube. You can always use it to access our past videos. This will be our first one. And of course, to be able to access our future live events. All right. Without further ado, we are about to start Android Night. And as you all might know, we have a very good lineup of speakers for today. Firstly, I'd like to introduce Toru. Toru will be talking about CameraX. He's actually been working in Android for more than 10 years now. He has a very wide experience in different fields such as BS, e-commerce, Bluetooth Low Energy, IoT, and he's currently working at the Singapore Tourism Board, working at the Visit Singapore app. So he's a very enthusiastic supporter of Google Developer Group. As you might know, he's actually been traveling around Asia, speaking at different GDG events. So he has been in Malaysia, in Korea, and now in Singapore. So yeah, without further ado, handing it over to Toru.
Hi, good morning. Hi, good evening, everyone. Sorry, I'm very nervous. Okay, I'm Toru, but please call me Toru, but I'm Wonyoung Choi. I'm working for Singapore Tourism Board as Julius introduced me. And now I'm I'm working for Android engineer here. And now I'm in charge of the Visit Singapore app as an Android developer. Okay. Today, I'm going to talk about CameraX, which is one of Jetpack library component. Here, Jetpack is like a suite of libraries, tools, or guidance to help developers write high-quality apps easier. And CameraX is basically lifecycle aware component. It means we don't need to write any specific code for upon the lifecycle functions like on create or resume or in destroy, etc. And also it also provides backward compatibility to L. Basically Lollipop covers more than 90% in the world, so we can expect to cover almost every devices when the CameraX reaches stable version. And it also adopts new concept, use case-based approaches. We'll discuss later. And now Google is trying to put big effort to resolve device compatibility issues. So using CameraX, we don't need to put any code which is device dependent. And now, as I mentioned in the title of topic, now CameraX has gone through beta stage. Before beta stage, it had 10 times of alpha stage. And currently, it passed 2 stages. Google has released beta 3 today. So I was very busy today to revise my slide and also fix my code. But it was luckily in a core part, so it didn't affect to the other UI side. Okay, we are ready to see 3 categories of use cases: preview, image analysis, and image capture. I'm gonna look into 3 categories here. Start this off. Okay, now the CameraX has preview layout. It names after preview view, but before coming into beta stage, we used to have texture view, and also Google encourages us to use texture view. But with the rise of preview layout, it is one of recommended way to implement the camera preview. This is code snippet for XML, so it is basically included in the CameraX framework UI framework. So it is. So how to use it is basically same with the other view widgets in Android, like text view or constellation layout or coordinate layout, etc. But for some cases, we may need to customize texture view for some particular cases that users need to use some OpenJS stuff. But it's out of scope here. Okay. This is Kotlin code snippet to use the viewfinder. I mean the preview. by using find view ID, we can get a view instance from the XML, as you know. And now we can implement the preview using builder parent. And here, after creating the builder parent builder, we can set the target aspect ratio and target rotation here. And after that, we need to set a surface provider. And I will talk later about screen aspect ratio and rotation. But it has been changed since beta 2. Before configuring the preview view, we should you configure some things in application instance like that, and also implement the CameraX config that provider, and also implement this callback function like that. And secondly, it's basically similar code, but only one different thing is the last line here. Preview that create service provider. So here the code to create the service provider now it is inside the preview, and the needed and the required parameter is camera info. The camera info, we can talk about the camera info later. Okay. Secondly, I would like to proceed to the image analysis. We can use this image analyzer for our custom image process. In same way, we can create image analyzer object here. In same way, like using builder parent, we can set target resolution, and also, but you can use target aspect ratio like that. But if we set up two parameters at the same time, it causes crash. So here we need to make sure that image analyzer to support the non-blocking mode, we need to set the back pressure strategy here. It means the image analyzer only takes the last frame from the camera. And here we can see the code to set up the analyzer here. At first, putting the executor and creating the image analyzer object, and even also set the callback function using lambda pattern, lambda expression. This lambda expression returns an image. That image is image proxy. Image proxy contains some information about image of Android, such as format, width, and height. The CameraX basically supports YUV format. So inside this lambda expression, you can put your code. We can put your code upon your request or your requirement. Okay. I will proceed to image capture. I think that is the most important thing for the users, because the one of the basic function is of camera is taking a picture, right? In the same way, we can set the capture mode after using builder parent. We can set the capture mode and target aspect ratio and target rotation like that. There are two parameters required: capture mode and screen aspect ratio here. Screen aspect ratio has two constants: 16 versus 9 and 4 versus 3. And in image capture mode, it has two constants: capture mode minimize latency or maximize quality. If you are very sensitive to the processing speed, you just take first one. Otherwise, or if you are more prioritizing on the quality, you should take second. And interact, taking picture. Here, before taking a picture, we should set some output options, and then it contains some file formats and some metadata, but metadata is optional. By using this code, using in the same way with the previous one, like the other user cases, is also use a builder parent. So here the code to take a picture is very simple. Just one line. First, we can set up the output options we set previously, an executor, set an anonymous class or separate class implementing or extending that on image save callback. It has two callback functions in on image save on error. So here, so inside the code, yeah, we can do whatever we want. Okay, before proceeding to the final stage of initializing, I want to I want to introduce some new APIs in beta. This is just a funny thing. Now Google's Code Lab on and the CameraX they use still in alpha. It's quite ridiculous. I don't know. Okay, I have three things to tell: initialization, pick your camera, and camera control. Before beta, we only needed to use one class, one method defined in CameraX. It is like a static function, but since beta, CameraX has started using a new class to initialize based on concurrency API of Java, named process camera provider. Here, process camera provider is basically a single parent, so it returns a camera provider feature. Feature is one of the concurrency API of Java, right? And here, we can define a runnable to initialize all the user cases. And at first, by running this code, we can get a camera provider. And don't forget to use executor at the end of this line. I mean the method at listener. Picking a camera. Okay, we can use this class camera selector to pick the most suitable camera on given options. If by using this option, CameraX automatically picks the most suitable one. Okay, as you can find, everything has been based on the BeLive parent. Now the camera selector needs only one line require lens facing back or facing front. I'm not sure, but in the future there may be more various things for selector. But now in beta stage, we only need to initialize and ensure we use which lens we want to use. Okay, in the previous slide, we saw some camera info, right? When initializing the preview here, you can see can you see the camera info, right? That is equivalent to this. To this camera info and camera control. Camera control and camera info classes are objects. Again, these are able to be given by binding all the use cases. We'll talk later, but I just want to share here. Okay, the first line is the code to initialize all the user cases and also to bind all the user cases to the lifecycle. By doing that, it returns real camera object. But based on camera object, we can obtain the camera info and camera control here. Camera control is for manipulating some features, some advanced features of CameraX, and info is a corresponding functions to the camera control. That means by using camera info, we can we can retrieve the status of the advanced features. By using camera control, we can enable or disable torch or linear zoom level and zoom ratio, or starting autofocus or canceling autofocus here. In the same way, we can also derive some values from camera info. By using camera info, sensor rotations or torch states, or it contains two status, enabled and disabled, or on and off. I mean, zoom state returns camera info that zoom state returns live data, zoom state of live data, but zoom state is also kind of data structure. It only has the zoom state inside. I mean, it contains some float. Or we can check whether this camera machine is available on a flash or not. Okay. Okay, we have glanced many things like just use cases or how to initialize very briefly. Here we reach to the final stage, bind and unbind to life cycle of Android. Okay, from the camera provider, we derived. We can just call one line of function here. The parameters are view lifecycle owner, camera selector, preview, image capture, image analyzer. But all the user cases are optional. If you just want to use preview, we can put the preview object only. In same way, if you don't need any image analyzer, you can skip. But CameraX follows the lifecycle of lifecycle owner, who may be a fragment or activity of Android, but sometimes we are required to unbind all the camera objects from the lifecycle explicitly. For example, before binding all the use cases to the lifecycle, we should make sure everything has been already unbound from the camera. In that case, we can call this function. Okay, I quickly glanced, as I mentioned, all the fundamental things about CameraX. There are some features, but there are some features CameraX provides to us, such as tap to focus, pinch zoom, zoom slider, torch enable and disable. Tap to focus or pinch zoom or zoom slider is like a function given by the UI widgets of Android, such as gesture detector or some sig bar or any buttons to enable disable or making bigger the zoom level or shorter or making the zoom level shorter. So I will not bring any code snippet here about these advanced features, but if I have a chance more, I would like to introduce someday in future. Okay. Also CameraX also provides API for accessing effects. I mean visual effects like a bokeh or HDR. But it is dependent on device and manufacturer. That means only specific phones or only specific manufacturer can use embed this vendor extensions to the phone. So often, so if a device has that specific functions, then it will be enabled. Otherwise, CameraX automatically degrade it very softly. The official document by Google also describes how to enable or use bokeh effect as an example. You can find it easily from the Google developers group and Google developers page. And keep in mind that vendors are not required to provide every visual effects. So please don't be disappointed for the vendors or manufacturer. Okay. We just gotten through the camera's pictures from from the scratch or preview and some use cases and how to bind, how to unbind, or how to pick the camera or any other advanced features. Any questions? Sorry, say again. Okay. Is CameraX open source? Can we contribute to CameraX on the code repository? Okay, yes, CameraX is open source, but we need to fork that open source repository to our things, and we can contribute. Okay, since Android is having lots of device-specific issues regarding camera and gallery in the speaker, it seems like it's fixed in Android X. How about older OS version? Okay, camera. It seems like it's fixed in Android X. How about older version? Let me give me a second. Oh, in my personal opinion, I don't think that specific issues have been fixed in Android X, because Android X is just like form factor. So the gallery can be independent to the vendors, or camera source can be manipulated or some customized by the vendor. But Android X is just like an effort to resolve the fragmentation problem. But I'm not sure. I don't think I don't think that this fixed well. How about older OS version? How do you use camera control in fragment or activity? How do you use? Okay. Okay, Caleb. Yeah, you can declare this camera control and initialize after the camera object is instantiated. Here, for example, if you want to use torch, you can just declare a button, and also here you can set toggle using your button and call this function. That's all. If in same way, if you want to set a linear zoom using your volume control, volume control has a callback functions. Yeah, you can use it. Is it any other questions? Okay. Okay. If there's no more question, want to say, I want to say thank you. Thank you for having me. Okay. Well,
All right, thank you so much, Toru. I think I only hope that I can have a selfie with you with CameraX, but let's see, let's see how it goes. And then the next person is Myat. Myat is a Women Tech Maker ambassador and is a very passionate software engineer with more than 6 years of experience developing in Android applications. She's currently part of the Android team in Lomotif. It's a short music video editor app based in Singapore, and she has been instrumental in improving capabilities and performance of the Lomotif app. She loves spending her free time exploring new technologies, giving talks like this one, and writing blog posts on technical topics. So without further ado, Myat, take it away.
Hello. Hey, this is Myat. Currently, I'm work as a senior Android developer at Lomotif company in Singapore. So I'm a WTM ambassador from Myanmar. Glad to meet you all. So let's get started our talk. So today talk is all about Android Jetpack testing. Okay. So I will talk about why we need testing. Hello? Oh. Hello? It's work now? Can you hear it? Oh, okay, thank you. So today talk is all about Android Jetpack testing, and we will talk about today why we need testing and type of Android testing, and then like Android testing in action. So firstly, why we need Android testing? So nowadays we are building a large-scale application that is needed to Android testing because we need to, when we become the Android developer are scared to refactor code, not confident about their changes, and like we have to test a previous feature, which is working properly, and then we are not sure about our regression tab, and like when we are doing things manually, it's make our time to time is tiring, and then make you prone to mistakes, and then which is not scalability. So what about the testing on Android? So there are three types of testing in Android: local unit test, instrumentation test, and UI test. For the local unit test, okay, local unit tests runs on your local computer, so literally on your machine that has Android Studio installed on it. They are run using the Java Virtual Machine, or JVM for short, and so it's run using the Java language on your computer, and they are very first because you don't need an emulator, or you don't need anything to do with the Android really to run them basically. So it's just running rich of code on your computer. These are the types of tests that you use to test your code logic. Means like what does this kind of method do? Does it like does this method throw an exceptions correctly? So it's all about the logic based test. So some of the mainstream libraries that probably 95% of people are going to use JUnit, and Mockito. And there I'm going to use the JUnit 5 for JUnit test. Okay, for the instrumentation test, these are very similar to local unit tests, and you can think of it's almost the same with the little bit of different. The instrumentation test can test Android specific functionality. That means functionality, they use things like activities, fragments, content, services, all these kinds of life cycle stuff. So instrumentation tests, you need to run them on a real device or an emulator. That's because you need the Android framework. But there's a some third-party library which will you to run these tests without emulator or real device. For example, Roboletic, but sometimes you don't work perfectly. For example, JUnit 5, which is the newest version of JUnit, is incompatible with the Roboletic. At least not more than likely it will be compatible eventually, not just right now. The mainstream libraries for instrumentation tests are the same for the local unit tests. So however, the 6J unit 5 just comes out these still some Android specific dependency and didn't work perfectly within it, just like Roboletic. So for the instrumentation test, I'm going to use the JUnit 4 instead of JUnit 5. Okay, so UI tests. UI tests are literally for stimulating what the user might be doing with your application, whether that's pressing button, entering text, or basically doing anything and everything possible that a user could do. Also, it gets the things at speed that a normal user might not even be able to do, so that it might click on better, faster than user ever work, or slower than a user ever would. If your UI is gonna break your app, these tests will find that problem. Obviously, this UI test need to be done using the Android framework because it's interacting, interacting with the UI. So you need a real device or emulator to run these tests. So UI tests are done with Espresso. Woohoo. Okay, so it's time for action. So this is a critical user journey. It's just like saving the node and add a new node. Here, I'm just referencing the architecture from the Google. So, okay. Let's say we have a small method which determined to be equal. We need to test this method before we move forward proper to write the unit test. So let's get started. Okay. The first thing, I want to expect two nodes equal. The two nodes are equal, or we retain true. We expect that to return true. And then, like, just to save time, declare a constant variable inside the companion object and create the first node and second node. We use accession to make sure nodes are same. You can see here, accession node, we make sure nodes are same. And you might wondering why I'm using the system log, because it cannot use the text log in the Android test system log. So the second method, which is expected to have the difference, so that I put the different parameter in for the ID, and then write the asset not equal to expect to get the different. Okay. So this is just a default how to make a default template for the JUnit 5. So these are the shortcut to create a test. So if you click on the command plugin, which is on MacBook. And if I'm not making mistake, you can use Alter N for the window, and it will show the test method dialog. And then you can click on the when you click on the JUnify, which automatically insert the test method, and which allow me to rename it. Oops. It's this is a default behavior of Android Studio. So if you want to build a template like this, go to the preference, and there have a go to a find and code template, and you can see JUnit, and then scroll down. You can see the JUnit test method, and then you can edit this one. Hello? This one? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. More action on. Okay. Okay. So you can edit here whatever you want. Like here, I'm just at the organize. You can add like the rearrange, or then arrange, and then operation and clarify, whatever you want. If you want the exception, you can edit, and then which will help you to get a default test method. Okay. So this is a JUnit 5 documentation. I'm not going through that many examples, but I just wanted to be aware of different types of testing that are available with the JUnit 5. Now I want to take a look at parameter types test that's available with JUnit 5. So now I'm reached to the default in test project. You can see it, right? Actually, I'm not able to do this. Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. So I will try to make more larger. Wait for me. Okay. Oops. Okay. So maybe I am. Okay. Is it really too small for the other? Okay. Okay. So, and we use JUnit for instrumentation, cause it's work below the, and we will use the JUnit for instrumentation, cause it works below the API level 26. But JUnit 5, which is work over the API level 26. Okay, so this is the first thing I want to test the expectation. So I want to make sure that this expectation is not true, and I'm trying to generate the timestamps. Okay. So I just create today constant variable, and I created the test get current timestamp and return timestamp to get the timestamp. So I don't want the throw exception. So if the current month and year, the test will pass it. And now I'm going to move on the parameterized tests. Okay, we use basically. So what's the parameterized test? Well, basically, it's a regular test, and you can specify some inputs that you use throughout the test. So in this example, parameterized test, it's make it possible to run a test multiple times with the different arguments. So now let's see. It's a 12 total number because I want to test different month for that you take class. So and make sure I'm not getting the correct output, and I want to get set return. And then I use month number as an input integer, which is the value source that I specify. This is the first instrumentation test for the database. We just need to open database and get the node DAO. Remember, we are using the JUnit for these tabs. Keep that in mind. In init block, we create a temporary database, basically mock database for testing. We are calling in-memory database builder, which will exist only as long as app alive. As soon as app dying, the database destroyed, and all the data is lost. So it's really perfect for testing. Now we need application context, call application provider, which is a part of Android text for dependency, and we need to reference node database. So that's a temporarily data we gonna using for testing for each test, so that to make the sure database close correctly and all the results are just clean up. So if you want to share result, say you have to know some kind of a mock object that you want to use in both classes, which is mean the Android test in test folder that you want to build manually. You will have to build a common directory that those two can reference and use it, can access both. The common directory share between those the two test directories, and can refer these nodes object inside bots here. So I just created the test common and then put inside the test util and use inside the Android test and test file, test folder. That's why I call it sharing resource and then using common. Okay, live data testing. So this is the example from sample from Google, and then I just use it for the live data. So here the countdown length will help you to launch for a blocking thread until the data sets, and which will wait the 2 seconds. And then observe when the data is set, and it will call the countdown. So we will use this live data testing in unit test. Okay, this is a database testing. So we use blocking get here for sort of blocking thread. And after insert it, I read the data and then call the access to make sure what I said previous is correct. And then select the node object. And then select the select the node object using the blocking again to delete it. Okay. This is a repository test. And then I mock the node repository and then the database, and then using the insert nodes okay. Firstly, I insert node, then verify the correct method is called, and confirm observer is trigger, and confirm new row is inserted. Okay. This is I write a method for can observer node that has been set, which is I use the live data test. And then this is a part 2 for the view model test, which is observe a node has been set and on chain will trigger in activity. Okay. Here is the test coverage. So there is an Android Studio features which help developer to track which has been testing and which hasn't. So Android Studio feature called test coverage. Basically, it does all the unit tests in the class, running something with the test coverage, and there you can see a little window here which same information number or collects percentage based on how much test on number and line number of tests that I tested in class, and then double click on here, so you can see here a lot of information on dates, and no activity member inject and no view model factory, which is generated through the dagger. So we don't actually need to care, but we care about node view model. Generally speaking, those numbers are quite good. I'm sure the question came to my mind. How much coverage should you have tested method? Every line of code. I think the answer the question, there is a developer different work environment. It's not a straightforward answer to that question. Some developers think they wanna have 100% fully coverage always, but others don't think they're realistic or necessary or even consuming time. So I am among the second group. I'm also think it's I don't think it's always realistic, even practical. There are something don't need to be unit tests, but something definitely needed. I would say, like overall, my advice is just try to be practical and think about the testing. You write it based on kind of wider potential problems or really tricky logic. So let's move on the UI test. So in here, I just want to make sure to navigate from no list activity to no activity is worked or not. Here, I'm using the system best spreads. You can use it as well. Mostly we use like on view, which is same with something else. Maybe in here we have the we might have our custom best spreads. You can use it. It's same, and this one is from the system. Okay. So if you face this kind of error, so you can go inside to your real device or emulator. So there have developer options, and then enable the don't keeps activity. After that, rerun again. So it should be worked. So what is a test suite? Test suite will help you run your test in one time. So here I'm just put into two test classes inside the test suite classes, and which it ran it, and there below you can see I put inside the two test classes no list activity and no activity. So we just ran it. We just ran two class one time. And then for the espresso idling resource, I've been working with the espresso idling resource pretty recently. So I remember if we have any such kind of delay, I mean thread, calling the remotes, calling the data from local database, so such kind of delay. So we always have to register this idling resource with this before annotation, with the after annotation, and register is kind of bunch of things that we need to every single time. So we might use the idling resource like tones or classes, so that let's make it the customized. Let's you customize. So every single test class before every single test. So what a test rule, what a test rule can do, as you are probably guessing from how we've used them before, like the activity scenario rule. So it's kind of create a predefined set of things that we get that will happen before each test function. So for example, activities net rule here. This create a stimulated activity, a brand new when before each test function is run, so the new activity get created in the background. So we can use just the lines of code when we after we create a command. So that it's proper for us to test. So we can actually create custom rules that define custom behavior to save us from writing code, and also it makes sort of setup procedure more shippable to other class. So if you can imagine like that in the espresso idling resource class. So if we have the list, we will have to register in this every single ones of our test class. So why not create a rule for it, so that we don't have to write this. We can do in one line. We don't have to write like that. And then okay, so it is for the debug and release for the idling resource. So we use idling resource for the debugs only, so that we don't need for the release. So you just need to create the two folder, debugs and release. And inside the debug, you have to put here this is incremental or decremental. For the release, we don't need it, right? So that for the release, you just need to create like this. This is for the debug and release for idling resource. Okay. So for the Fire, you can run a test with the Firebase using the Firebase test lab. So this is basically you need to do you need to go to the Firebase console and register application using the package name, and then download the Google service file and put inside here. And then you need to put into some libraries like Google Play Service inside the build.gradle. After that, you can create it. So here, you can give a name, and then you can choose which test class you can test it, and then like it's a target. So here we are trying to test with the Firebase, and then metric configuration, you can customize your yourself. Like you can use the virtual device or the real device, and inside the virtual inside the physical device, you can pick it up the device model like Google Pixel, and then like Samsung Galaxy or S10 or something like that, and then you can you can give the API level as well. After that, you can if you run it, which will publish it to the Firebase test lab, and then you can see the results. So here, key takeaway is like testing on Android, like mixing, intermediating, like for the learning rate, it will save you from many headaches. Like you're not forgetting you're not forgetting your previous function, you're not missing your previous function, and then all of the functions are probably work or not. You can make sure it with the only one click. And before you jump into the Android testing, like you need to simplify your code base with the clean architecture, which need to be testable, and then read and then like hands-on some custom test template that I show you, which also will improve your development time, and using common resource for test, like creating the common test class, which can use commonly, and then check the test coverage and use the test suite for run all of your tests, and then use the Firebase test lab, and then trying to create a custom test rule. So if you want to keep learning, so there is a JUnified documenter. I prefer it. There are tons of the testing that you might need it. And thank you. Ooh. Hello? Okay. How do we integrate? Oh, okay. On unit test, normally how much coverage code that is target for? As I told you, it's depend on you. For my side, it's like you just need to to do like such kind of tricky and such kind of big logic. So no need to have the full 100% test coverage. So it's depend on you, depend on how much your unit test is important. Yeah. And then next question. How do you allocate effort for each testing? Testing respectively. So for me, as my experience, I truly ran the unit test first. So firstly, I'm just trying to make sure, let's say, as a simple query I would like to get from the local, so that I'm trying to test my query is correct or not. And then there I expected two things, and throw an error, like accepting the error case, and then the like getting the list case. After that, I try to make sure the repository, which is need to carry the data from cache to the view model. So I'm tested the repository. After that, I test the view model, which is the actually view the past data, the view model or not. I'm really hands-on on the UI test, but mostly I work on the unit test and then the instrumentation test, which is more important for me. Such kind of, like running the recycler view on giving 1,000 objects or things like that. Actually, as I told you, the unit testing and integration testing is very similar, except some Android related things. Some are the Android lifecycle. So JUnit unit test is just a method, just a simple method. We want to make sure. I can show you. Like, let's say there is a method which is the to make sure the responding the date timestamp is correctly or not. So at that time we use the unit test. For the instrumentation test, we might have the same sort of the things like the database thing, which need the Android. So at that time we use the instrumentation test. Yep. So is there any question? If you have some other question, don't need to hesitate, and feel free to reach to me. I'm using the Twitter, Facebook as well. Just type the Myat. Maybe I can share. For the UI testing, if you have the large scale application, let's say you have, well, hey, so it's suitable for the large scale application. You have the tons of feature, maybe 1,000 or 100 feature at the time you need for the UI testing to make sure all of your components, all of your things are probably work or not. It looks like the regression testing. Hello? Goodbye, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. Bye-bye.
Much, Sumyat. And if anyone has further questions for Sumyat, please feel free to reach out to her. You can also post further questions in YouTube Live, and she can interact with you right here. And towards our last speaker, I'd like to introduce Hassan. Hassan is a lead software developer with several years of experience in Android and web development. He is currently based in Singapore. He works as a software engineer at BeLive, which is a live streaming platform. And before that, he lived in Seoul. He can speak perfect Korean. And so we should request him to speak a bit of Korean when he hops on board. He works at Next Streaming, which is also a streaming service. And he also works on KindMaster, as many of you might know. It's an Android video editing app in the same company. Hassan is also a Google developer expert who has been gracing us with his presence, all over Southeast Asia, as you might know. All right, without further ado, Hassan, please take it away.
I think this is my first time doing YouTube Live, so it's a new kind of experience. I have an Android device next to me, so I can see myself. Hope you guys can hear me. So if you can hear me, just type, so I will know it's okay to start. As you guys know, last year, no, this year, 2019, last year, 2019, Google I/O Jetpack Compose was introduced. Since then, like it's been almost a year, because we are already reaching Google I/O 2020. Unfortunately, it's not going to take place. But still, active development is taking place. Still, it's a developer preview. So today, what I'm going to tell you, maybe if you go back and see old videos, a lot of things have changed. Because when I was trying some samples and some code labs, a lot of things have been changed quietly. So yeah. A little bit about myself before talking about this topic. So I'm GD Android, and I give talks at events, mostly Google I/O Extended and DevFests. I'm not sure if there is any in-person event going to happen this year, but mostly I will try to speak online. And I work in a company, in a live streaming company. So our live streaming is more like broadcast. It's not like one-to-one, like Zoom or something, but like, recently because of coronavirus, there has been a demand, like everyone wants to go online, right? So we provide different solutions like live shopping, live trivia. And that's why I'm really busy, more busy than ever before, because of so much demand of live streaming. So let's get back to the topic. What is Jetpack Compose? Jetpack Compose, like in simple terms, is a modern toolkit for building native Android UI. It means like you can use Kotlin APIs to make your UI the way you want. So in other words, there will be no XML layouts, and it's all like in code. So you can write programs for it. You don't need to maintain XML file. So we'll be looking at many samples today and a lot of code examples, so get familiar with it. So let's because this talk is mostly about hands-on Jetpack Compose, so I'll get right into it. So let's, for one thing, you have to note that for running Jetpack, trying out Jetpack Compose, you need Canary build, this one. Beta builds will not work. So previously, Android 4.0, people were trying, but now you have to download, if you are like just going to the Android Studio preview site, you have to download Android Studio 4.1. Then you can try out Compose. So let's start a project. Then I think we can get familiar. So my Android Studio version is 4.1, and I'm going to start a new project. So if you start a new project, right, you will see this empty Compose activity. Let me start my timer. So here is empty Compose activity. So this is added for you. You can just press next. You can write my application name, and I'll just make it default. But you should note that it works on API level 21 and above. And default language is Kotlin. So it will not give you an option for Java. So guys, this is the time to quit Java, I think. Okay, I'll just make this application. And one more thing, like during my demo, maybe sometimes I have to restart my Android Studio, but just bear with me. We will get through this together. Okay, so here you see one interesting thing is like in this project, there is no layout folder. So this is a big advantage, right? And as you load, like everything is set up for you. So let's check like Gradle. So I will make it bigger for you guys to see. Wait a second, let it run. So you will see something interesting here. I'll make it bigger for you. That these are some libraries added for you, like UI framework, UI layout, UI material, UI tooling, and you see it's Dev 03 version. So Dev 03 version is old. I think on April 4, Dev 08 was released. So what I'm going to do is, before trying it, like I have this like new version. I'll just replace here quickly. Let's just sync. Hope there are no errors. Then we can play around and create something. So, okay, everything looks good. So, like here, I have to bring, because many of the APIs change, right? So whenever I make any change, right, I have to build and refresh. So here I write my code. I will make it bigger again for you guys to see. And I think I don't need this one. Okay. Okay. So, yeah, okay. So we have to build the project every time we make any change, so we can see the preview right away. But you see right now, it's just building. So here we go. So this is our simple Hello Android. And you can see here we have a composable function. So every Jetpack composed UI should be prefixed by composable. Then inside, you have all those components you used to have, like text, button, and some others I will show you, like columns for lists, rows. So this is a very simple default text view, what you used to call it. Here, what I'm going to do is add a style. So I can do some styles. So let's give it different color. Let's say color dot red. So once I'm going to give it color right. So wait. I have to build it again. So there are some issues sometimes with not getting the correct library. So I have to like sometimes play around with it. So it should be this one. Okay. Okay, right. Okay, here we go. So you see that I just styled it, and after some time, you will start seeing red color. Hopefully, yeah. Okay. So so I think you guys will be. I can change and right now, folks. And what I can do is install it on the real Android phone to show you guys, because it's not only here, but it's also on the real device. So let's see. This will be shown here quickly. Just installing. So this is the way I told you. It's for a new project when you create, but you can also add it to an existing project. Later I will show you. So you see this hello Android Night, folks. So what I can do is, like, let's say I want to add some padding on top. So what I can do is I can add some padding. So I do modify padding, and top I can do maybe, let's say 30 dp .dp. Okay, so I'm going to build this app again and show you. So at the same time, when it's installed here, you can see like you can do something like this. And also, if I want to be more smart, I can do 16.dp. So you see, so I can just build and refresh. So it will move a little bit to right. Yeah, there's a padding here. So let me get back to my presentation so that I can tell you what I'm going to share with you today. Okay, so you can add compose to an existing project. So you have to have these build features, this build feature compose as true. And then other settings I told you, like you have to add this all new libraries, which are in active development at this moment. And there is also some test implementation. So you can test your compose UI at the same time. And just recently, there is this animation class added, package added. So it means like animations also available, and material library, material theme is available for compose already. So today I'm going to talk to you and show you some examples about modifiers, how to reuse compose functions, what are container functions. So there used to be a function container before, but it's no more. And then I will share about state in compose. Let's say you click a checkbox, you have a switch, you have a button click event. So how are you going to capture the state, right? And then something about flexible layouts. So before we used to have flexible columns, flexible rows, but they are not anymore. So let's look into modifiers. So modifiers are parameters that tell UI how can you lay out. So I mean, in XML, you basically have those paddings, margins, alignments, and other stuff, right? So the same case for most of the basic compose functions like text, button, floating button, switch, you can have a modifier. So the API changed totally. Before it was called layout padding or layout margin or something, but now they changed to modifier dot something. So this is a big change. So here you can see we have a surface. So surface is more like a background. Then we define a color. So color dot yellow, and then here we have a text. So we can have one modifier, or we can have chain different modifiers together. Okay, so for modifier, right, let's go back and let's look into one more advanced examples. So I have created one code for you guys already. So I think I can share this with you. So here what I did is I created a new story, or you can say more like a list. So what I did is like I have a column here. So column is more like list view. So it's like layer by layer. And then I added this image here. So how I added this image here is I have image resource. So you guys remember there was this plus sign before, right? Now there is no need for this plus sign. You guys can still get this, use this image resource without using that plus sign. And this is a drawable I added in my resources. And then I have a modifier. So here modifier, I have some properties like preferred height, fill, max width, then clip. So I can clip and create those round corners. I will just show you. And so these are all the properties I set up. Then I have this image view, you can say. And then I have the asset. So asset is this coming from resources. Then I have modify. Then I have scale fit. So scale fit, I just do fill height. So you can do a lot of things here. And then I have just 3 text here with different stylings. And you can see different, I can use different font family. I can use all these textiles which normally you use. And at the same time, I think one thing you guys notice is like sometimes I'm adding padding, sometimes I'm not adding padding. So, and how can I preview it? So I just preview it like this. I call it a name. So this is one good thing, like added in the latest one, that you can name your preview, and you can encapsulate it in a material theme. So let's run this. So I think I'm going to disable this. I'm just going to put it here, and I'm going to run this app and see how it looks like in the real app. So let it run first. Okay, so you see I can have different styles, like a lot of different things here. And let's get back to the slides. Okay, so one thing you noticed here is that once I set content of my app, I'm like adding individual functions. So we can actually reuse our compose functions. So for this, we create a top, like let's say my app compose function, and inside that we can have many children. So one compose can have more compose functions, composable functions as children's. So let's look at this example. Here you see I have my app. So my app has this material theme. Inside there's material theme is also composable functions. Inside there's service. Then there's greeting. And then greeting is also a composable function. So this is how I can reuse composable functions. So once I create this in my activity, it's outside my activity context, so I can use anywhere in my app. So let's go to the next concept, which is making container functions. So before there was an API container, but now it's been removed. So how you make a container function usually is like you define a children. So this children is a composable function, and it returns unit. So all the composable functions return a unit. And then somewhere here, encapsulating inside material theme, you can have these children. So here you can have one composable, then inside another composable. That's how you make your UI hierarchy. So yeah, okay, and let's go to next part. So there is one example of container function is a theme function. So I'll show you one working example for this. So here, let's say we can have our color palette. Like, you know, right now we have light theme and dark theme because most of the devices support dark theme, right? So based on that, you can even use it in the preview. I will show you later difference between light theme and dark theme. And then you can define also your typography fonts, which fonts you want to use at the app level. And then inside here, your children's are here. So I'll tell you more examples about this. So let's go back and see if we can find some examples for this. So, okay, yeah. So I think before that, I can continue the next topic and then come back to sample code. So you have noticed that we have switches, we have checkboxes, we have button click events, but how do we capture the state of it? So for this, we can manage state in compose with @ of model class. And we can, whenever this is observable. So whenever it, like, let's say your model changed, it will like redirect compose function to recompose, so like redraw. So let's say you have this click event on a switch, then based on the state, it will change to like other state, and at the same time, it will update the model for you. So this is how we capture events. So let's look an example. So go back to the code. So here I have this model as a counter state. So what I want to do here is I'll just, for you guys, I can preview for you at the composable function counter preview, and I can just counter. So that's how I can pass in, and then I can try to build for you guys. Let's see, everything is good. So what I'm going to do is like, I'm going to run this sample on the actual device, because over there, actually, I can capture the events, right? Because here I can just see the preview. So I can tell you what's going to happen here. So in on click event, right, we are going to increment the count, and background color, we have some logic. The good thing about Jetpack Compose is that you can use all the Kotlin code here. Like if you are very good with Kotlin, you can use all those Kotlin code here. So here I have an if-else condition, then I have a text. So in text, I will show how many times I will be clicking it. So let's go back to the main. I think I will hide this one. And I think I have this one, right? So I can just show this one, and okay, let's try to show here. Okay, counter. So I have a counter. I'm going to run this. So let's see on the device. Yeah, wait, I have to. I'm going to run this on the device. So you see I have this button here. So I click on this. Can you see it moving 6 times, 7 times? I'm not sure if you guys can see, but the color will change at some point. So the counter is also incrementing. So this is how you manage a state. Okay. So I'll just keep it here, and I have some more examples about this. So let's look at an example of checkbox. So I'm going to have this checkbox. You can see checkbox. Okay, I'll refresh. So this is a switch component, and actually, if I don't add any form state, it will be just a static component. It will not change. So key thing is like without this model, it will just do nothing for you. So you have to have this check state is like initial state, and then you have to capture this on checked change. So here you see we're just like setting it up. And later in your code, when you're doing some action, you can always go back to this class and get this variable to see the value. So here I'm going to come here, and I can add a divider. Let's just add a divider and maybe 4 pp. Okay. And then I have to have a, what was that? It was switch component, right? And then I have this form state. So I can do this. Then I can build and run this to show you guys how it's going to look here. Let's just wait for it to load. And hopefully we can see a switch component, but actually I see it's on the back, I think. Seems like, let me try to run again. I added a divider, but okay. So here. So you see, if I click, it's going to change its state. So similar thing I can do with one more component is more like here is a checkbox. I think it's the checkbox. Okay, so let's check this checkbox. So I think it will be pretty much similar. Checkbox component. Okay, so let's try to build this one and see how it looks like. Okay, so you see, like, yeah, so we can style it the way we want. So it's like very useful to capture button. So here you see, if I'm clicking on button, I can manipulate, then I can have switch and these. So let's go back to the slides and go to the next topic. So here I just showed you the example of managing state with iterator model. Then one important thing is like when you are making your layouts, usually I showed you column, right? And then you can have rows also, horizontal, vertical, both. So before in Jetpack Compose, there used to be flex column and flex rows, but I think that concept is no more. Right now, you just have used column. Inside columns, you have to use modifiers to do that kind of, layout full, like full screen, like fill the whole content. Then you can do some kind of assign some weights. So we're going to play with it and see like if you can figure out. So let's go back to the slides. Sorry, the Android Studio. So here I have one example for you guys. What I did here is I created a column. Let's just look at the basic structure. So I added a column for you. And inside this column, I have another column. But what I did is like I set the weight as 1F, want to cover to occupy as much space as possible. And for the top one, I'm doing fill max height. You can do a lot of other things like fill max size, fill max width. And then I'm assigning some padding. So padding is for whole, right? So you see the output here is like, so this one tries to get all the space. So the remaining space over there is assigned to this text at the bottom one. So this is how like you can make flexible layout using Jetpack Compose. It's sometimes a bit tricky, but if you know the basic XML layout structure, I think the idea is pretty much similar here. Before, because of the flex columns, it was a little bit complicated, but they changed the API. So you can bring your XML knowledge here and do the same thing here. Okay. And so let's go back to the slides to see what else is there. So yeah, I just showed you this example. Like I had this modifier of fill max height. You can do fill max width. And then I have another modifier for internal column. This more like a list view, you can say. And I set the weight as 1. So I want to occupy all the space. And the remaining space is here. So these all individual items are actually inflexible. They will just occupy what the content is inside. Okay, so let's go to next slides. So one of the very important thing in your app is app theme, right? So you have to make a theme for whole your project, and this also can help you to see how this layout looks like in light theme colors and dark theme colors. So how are we going to make it? I'll show you one example. So here, let's say we have the Android night theme, then we can have theme colors. You can also have typography, fonts, and inside here we have these children. And then you can use that to have your light theme and dark theme. Let's see how it works. We'll go back here and I will come to app theme. Okay, so here. So this is some code I was playing around before the presentation. So let's just see the code for now. Okay. So I have this Android night theme, which I can use throughout my app. And here I have theme colors, and then I also can have typography. I can use different fonts. And then I have this material theme. So material themes require colors, and you can also have this one. And so this is pretty good. And then you have these children's. So I have two examples. One is light theme. So inside light theme, I have these light theme colors. So let's see what are these light theme colors. For this, right, there's this light color palette inside this is a new UI for this. And here you can define all your colors. Before you used to have color.xml, where you have all the theme colors. You have to have a theme separately. So you still need a XML file, but you don't need anymore. You can define all your theme colors here. So the difference between this surface is more like a surface, like it's different than background. Background is applied for whole, but surface is just like the background of that particular composable function. And on surface means like this is the text color. So here on background means it's the text color. So you see for the dark theme is not officially supported yet, but just play around with it using different colors to see how it looks like. So you see that surface color is different, and then the on surface is white. So it means the text will be white here. So I can show you the preview. So it actually looks like this. So you have Android Day. So I play around with this green color. So it's like this. And then I have the dark theme. So dark theme is, of course, like black background and then white color. So this is how you can test throughout your, yeah. So for me, like my presentation time is almost up. So what I'm going to do is try to wrap up and go for the question sections. So Jetpack Compose is in technical preview right now. Please do not use Compose in production, because if you're, let's say, using Dev 3 and now you start and try to migrate to Dev 8, everything will broke. You have to rewrite a lot of things. So how can you keep it up with it? I recommend you guys this app, Compose Samples, is Jetpack, Jet News. So Jet News is like more like updated one. So whenever there is a change, they will update for you. So this is I can show you like how it looks like. It's a very advanced app. Let's try to run this app to see how it looks like on the real device. So it has many components built in for you to try out, and whenever there is a new change in Compose, they will update this app. So it looks pretty much like this. And let's try to click on some item. So see, it's like very nice. So it's using material theme, and I can bookmark, and I can bookmark. I can, yeah. So this functionality is not available, but actually they had this pop-up. So it's also built in Jetpack Compose. So yeah, I think you can try out this. It's pretty good, and it has like many like basic setup. You can use this app as a to learn new things, and also how can you start. So if I go to the main activity here, you see it's very simple. So they just have Jetpack Jet News app, and inside that all the things are happening. But right now it's not downloading any data from network. It's all on device. So if you ask me like how can I show image I download from network, right now I don't know. Also, I'm still trying to figure out. Okay, so let me just conclude. Okay, so yeah, here are some resources. You can take a look, and I will share my slides. So there's like, if you want to understand how Compose works, how Compose runtime works, then there's a good talk in Kotlin conference 2019. So, and there are some basic talks also, but a lot of APIs change. So you might want to, yeah, try out sample first. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much, and I will look forward to your questions. So I have first question. This one I don't know. How much does how much does importing Jetpack Compose library add on to the app size? This one also don't know about this one, because I'm just playing around with it. I'm not building a production app right now. Yeah. Why would we go creative? I think it's giving you more. So it's like, the thing is, if so there was this sample code I made before. You guys have to create a list recycler view. You need to have adapter and create XML, then connect adapter, then load an items, right? So if you take the same logic and use Jetpack Compose, your code will be 50 to 60% halved. So actually you're creating views inside the code, but actually you're simplifying a lot of things, a lot of unnecessary things you need to do, but you don't need now. I mean, adapter you will not need anymore, because it's just pure Kotlin. So you get data from network, you can just create those runtime views or something, and then you can populate everything. So I find it very useful. Yeah. So Compose works everywhere. Like you see my classes. Sorry, yeah, I have to share. Okay, wait. So for me, like what code I showed you before, right? Like all the code is actually inside any Kotlin class. So it's not necessary to be inside an activity and fragment. It can be anywhere in my Android app. I can reuse it. So it's not necessary to be an activity and fragment. Yeah. Because you can see previews without being it in the activity or fragment. Yeah. But if you need some context, sometimes then you might need activity fragment. But where it works, like all the composable functions and previews work outside activity and fragments. Yeah, I think it will take longer time. Actually, like what I showed you today, it worked very well for me, but sometimes it got stuck when I was playing around with it. So, so it depends totally on your computer resources. Yeah, so there's a lot of improvements being done in general with. So when you do build and run, actually, so that's like all the things are taken care by Compose runtime. So they optimized it. I think when I tried Dev 08 with Android Studio 4.1 preview version, it's much faster than I tried before with Android Studio 4.0. So there have been lots of improvements, and it's still like in active development. We will see more improvements, but like as you saw in my demo, there was no problem. Every time it was working. Okay. I think this is a very complicated thing. I'm not sure about this. I haven't tried it. Actually, what I wanted to do with a sample app I have before, I was using coroutines with view models. So once I get data from network, I want to show in the Jetpack Compose UI. But right now, none of the Jetpack Compose sample I have seen is using any network for now. So maybe it's in work for now. So, but obviously, view model is something different than add model. Add model is just to maintain the state of those elements. So your view model is actually have some data from network or DB, but model is just to maintain state of that component, like switch, checkbox, button. So these are two different things. I think I like Jetpack Compose more because I can see preview. Usually, like the thing is, like you have to switch between two worlds sometimes, right? Like you have XML, then you go to the code. So you have to basically connect all the times. But here, actually, you just write one time, is connected at the same time. I mean, you don't need to find view by IDs or something. So I find it it's working well. My focus is more on trying out samples and APIs, not about performance at this moment. No, I don't think so. So it's all dependent on activity because you're using this component inside an activity, right? So for that, you have to preserve and do other kind of things. So I didn't try it also, but I think the activity recycle will not change with Compose. Yeah, Compose will be dependent on activity cycle. Okay, yeah. Thanks, guys. And if you have any question, you can just message me on Twitter. Okay, that's all from my side.
All right, thank you so much, Hassan. And we have Android night, and of course, we're going to have Android day as well. Please hold your horses. We don't have a date yet for this, but we're looking at sometime in May. we will be having a few people from Google who will be sharing with us some changes and some updates on Android 11/Android R. And some of the speakers are actually participants in the event tonight. So you'll be seeing some of them there as well. Thank you so much for being part of this event. And before you go, please give us some feedback. There's always a way for us to improve. We really appreciate it. And once again, thank you so much for being part of Android Night. Thank you for being part of GDG Singapore. Have a very good night. Take care, everyone.